Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Just Sayin. I'm Shay.
And I'm Jairus. And this week, we got the NFL offseason extravaganza.
Extravaganza. That's a big word.
But before that, we didn't get to baseball last week.
No, we didn't. You know
So,
why?
why?
Because we suck.
Noted.
I'm just kidding.
So, this week, we're going to kick things off with baseball. First up, the MLB trade deadline. It was a trade deadline featuring quantity over quality.
hmm
Not as star-studded as last year's trade deadline was. There was still a ton of moves. I believe I read like 60 moves within the last few hours.
Yeah, of the trade deadline. Yeah. Mostly prospects and minor leaguers and stuff.
Yeah, but like we said, not a lot of stars. So we're going to talk about it. We're only going to be talking about our teams, the Red Sox and the Rays. So to kick things off, the Red Sox, after the trade deadline, had expectations to push for a playoff spot and to contend for the World Series. But so far, they are 5-5 since July 30th. And did they win or lose last night?
We won walk off single, one nothing.
All right, so they are 6-5.
Wow.
Um, they still hold third in the AL East. Not sure if they uh, occupy the wild card spot, but we will go over that in the MLB standings.
Yeah. After
Uh,
this.
so for the trade deadline, they did bolster the bullpen, which was the goal. They traded for pitchers Luis Garcia, Quinn Priester from the Pirates, Luis Garcia from the Angels, Lucas Sims from the Cincinnati Reds, and James Paxton from the Dodgers makes his triumphant return.
Just to get put on the 15-day injured list.
That's right. These moves, they were supposed to help offset the injuries of their pitchers Justin Slayton and Chris Martin in July, while Paxton gives them a left-handed option. But so far, it's been pretty mixed results. The pitching has not really improved that much. So, Shay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, pitching has been off and on. Uh, Again, we just got Paxton, and he went right to the 15-day injured list. So great. But this team has been a pleasant surprise for most Red Sox fans. They were not expected to really do anything at all. Probably a lot of people had them being the bottom of the AL East. So sitting third right now and just outside of a wild card spot, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not expecting a World Series or anything this year by any means, but if we make the playoffs, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of Red Sox fans from the pleasant start to the season. The expectations did start going up. So another one of their moves was they acquired catcher Danny Jensen from Toronto for another right-handed hitting option, uh, but has not really worked out so far as basically the backup to Connor Juan.
Correct.
Um, so overall, I think they made the moves they needed to, but I don't think it really hardly moved the needle for them when it comes to the postseason. Overall, I'd say about average. I give them like a C rating.
Yeah, it's still early just after the trade deadline, so it's hard to you can put a grade on it and everything, but you're not going to know how it works out really until the end of the season. So, we still have a few months to go. Still plenty of baseball left, but it's been okay so far.
Yeah, exactly. This is just like the immediate returns to the moves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you're right. You're right. All right, moving on. We got the Tampa Bay Rays. They are 4-7 since the trade deadline. They're fourth currently in the AL East, and that's because they had a fire sale. Uh, Not surprised. This team since the beginning of the season did not look good at all. Uh, Way like from the prior season when they had one of the hottest starts in MLB in history. Uh, So they decided to pull the plug, sell off all our best players, starting off with center fielder Randy Arozarena to Seattle. We also sold off our third baseman Isaac Paredes to the Cubs. Um, we sold off pitchers Aaron Sorali to the Brewers and Zach Eflin to the Orioles, and including Jason Adam to the Padres. And finally, we sold off infielder Ahmed Rosario to the Dodgers. Uh, but even though we sold, I think we got a great return on all of our, pending free agents, star players. Out of all the prospects we acquired, 9 of them jump into the club's top 30 according to the MLB pipeline. So that's good. Um, Interesting though, the expectations are to remain competitive for the upcoming 2025 season, especially with our pitching ace Shane McClanahan returning to the lineup from Tommy John surgery. So overall, I'd say they did really well. I give them an A. That's also the rating I've been seeing from a lot of articles. Uh, so yeah, I think the Rays did a pretty good job. Obviously, it sucks for any fan to see star players go and their team sell off. But you don't want to be stuck in like that middle ground of mediocrity by not doing anything, selling or buying.
Yeah. Again, you got, yeah, 9 of the prospects you got jumped to the club's top 30. That's great and all, but it only matters if they actually work out, and who knows when and where they'll actually be called up to work out. Um, as a Red Sox fan, to me, this just screams rebuild. So they can say we're going to try and be competitive next year too, but this year was definitely a disappointment for the Rays. I don't think people expected, maybe not expected to be like a great team, but weren't expecting the season it has been for the Rays. So I I think you guys, I mean, I'm happy, of course, but I think you guys are going towards a rebuild here.
Well, of course, the Boston fans could be a little more cynical
Very true.
towards the Rays.
That's right.
Uh, but you're right. It has been a very disappointing season. I will agree, especially from, like I said, the season prior. Uh, so yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Other notable trades from around the league, like we said, there wasn't really many stars, but one we did want to include was Marlins pitcher Jazz Chisholm Jr. going to the Yankees, which the Yankees look very, very scary.
They look scary, but they've been on a tailspin since middle of June or end of June, something like that. So
Exactly.
there were,
On paper, they
yeah,
look
on
scary.
paper they're probably the best team in baseball, but nope, Yankees suck.
Yep. Um, so before we give you the update on MLB standings, uh, some very unfortunate news. Mike Trout from the Angels suffers yet another meniscus tear. Uh, of course, ending his season, and the team obviously continues to struggle. Uh, Very unfortunate for Mike Trout. He's one of the greatest players of his generation, but just has not been able to stay healthy.
Yeah, the last few years have been very, very rough for Mike Trout as far as being healthy goes. It sucks. He's beloved. He's one of the faces of baseball, of MLB. So I hope he's able to come back from this and have another fantastic year next year. But it's rough. It definitely sucks.
All right, and now we get to the standings. We'll update you on who leads the division, maybe some surprises that are leading the division or racing for that wild card spot, or maybe who's in the basement.
St- Starting in the American League, and of course the AL East, the Orioles do lead the division right now with 70 wins and 49 losses. They're a half game up on the Yankees because the Yankees got crushed yesterday, as of this recording. Um, so they're a half game up. The Sox are in third, 7 games back, and then the Rays are fourth, 10.5. And then the Blue Jays are just another disappointment, absolute disappointment of a year.
Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, sorry, Jake. They're they're done. The AL Central, the Guardians are up top right now with a 3.5 game lead over Minnesota with a 70-49 record. The White Sox are dead last in that division, and they just lost like 22 in a row before they finally won and snapped that streak.
Yeah. Now, if you don't know the Chicago White Sox, they're not just bad. Like they are historically bad.
Yeah,
They're having one of the worst seasons in MLB history.
they're on
Just a
track.
complete train wreck.
They're on track to have the worst win percentage in an MLB season in a sport that's over 100 years old.
Yeah, which is crazy. Even I believe the Oakland Athletics have like 20 games right now above the White Sox.
Yeah. Moving to the AL West, Houston, after their really bad start, has been surging as of late, and they now lead the West with a 63-55 record, and they are a half game above Seattle. Moving to the National League, the Phillies, who've been hot all year long and are staying hot, and they are still leading the NL East like they have been all year. They are 69-49 with a 7 game lead over the Braves. The NL Central, Milwaukee Brewers are in first with a 67-51 record, 7.5 games above St. Louis. And in the West, the Dodgers, no one's really talking about them too much just because they expect them to win pretty much. But they are leading the NL West at 70-49.
Not a surprise.
But they're only 3.5 games up on the Diamondbacks and the Padres, so the division is a lot closer than people thought. Moving to the wild card now, though, in the American League, the Yankees and the Minnesota Twins currently hold the wild card spot. Um, the Yankees are in the first wild card spot, 4.5 games up. Minnesota's in the second one, a game and a half up. Kansas City's right behind in the third spot. Boston's right there, 2 games behind. So we are knocking on the door. Your Rays are 5.5 behind, so there's still a chance. There's still plenty of season left to go.
Like you said, there's still a lot of games. So
Yeah,
even though the trade deadline happened and we sold off a lot of players, you never know.
you never know.
Probably won't do anything when we get there, but
Get knocked out real early again. Um,
it's okay. Nobody will be there to watch it.
yeah, that's true. In the National League wild card, Arizona, San Diego, and Atlanta hold the 3 spots. Arizona and San Diego are tied 4 games up right now over Atlanta. The Mets are knocking on the door though against the Braves. They are 1 game behind the Braves in the final wild card spot in the National League. So there you go.
There you go. There's your MLB standings update. Thank you, Shay.
No, thank you.
And thank you, Android.
Thank you, ESPN.
So yeah, we'll keep you updated as we get into the NFL season. We'll be keeping you updated on that, any other news, and when the postseason rolls around, we'll definitely be talking about that as well. Moving on, NASCAR. Little bit of controversy this week as Austin Dillon wins, but he wrecks Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin on the final lap in Richmond. That secures him 13th place in the standings as of now with 1 win. Uh, so yeah, coming down to the wire, those last few spots, it's basically, I would say, a must-win situation for Kyle Busch, Todd Gilliland, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, it's there's they were on a break 2 weeks ago because of the Olympics, so they came back just this past Sunday. Um, there's 3 races left before the playoffs, I believe, 3 or 4. So yeah, it's pretty much must win right now.
Yeah, so after this controversial win by Austin Dillon, Denny Hamlin, obviously, and Joey Logano both were not happy at all.
Not at all.
Gave their thoughts. Um, but it leads me to a question, Shay, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this. Um, is NASCAR, both NASCAR, like the league, the body, and the fans, biased when it comes to officiating? And the reason I ask this is because Denny Hamlin is hated. Joey Logano, very hated. Probably the two, most unpopular drivers in the sport right now, just from their long track record of controversies. Uh, so for me, there needs to be like a line, right? Black and white. We remember when Denny Hamlin jumped the restart. NASCAR did not review it, did not penalize him, and Denny Hamlin admitted that he did jump the restart.
The the race earlier in Richmond earlier this year.
So, man, Richmond's just
Yeah, well, it's a short
controversial
track.
track,
It's a
huh?
short track.
Uh, so that really poses this question for me because if Denny Hamlin or Joey Logano does it, I feel like the fans will automatically jump on them just because of their history and their reputation and say like, "Oh, well, they're just crybabies and they can't adapt to like the new upcoming kids and they're old and why are they complaining so much?" Which is warranted. Not going to stand here and say it's not warranted. Like we said, Denny Hamlin jumped the restart earlier in the year, so he has crossed the line. Uh, but with NASCAR, I think the officiating this year has not been great with these kind of calls. There has to be, and I get like with the restart, like you don't want a call like altering the results of who wins, but if you keep it in this gray area, then people are going to think it's okay to do it, and it's going to keep happening. And then you're going to go back and reverse your call. And I believe we talked about this before. You're going to go back and reverse your call, and everyone's going to be like, well, wait a minute. You didn't call it here, but now you're calling it here.
Mhm.
So I just want to know like what your thoughts are.
I think first the fans across every single sport are going to be biased when it comes to officiating, no matter what. Um, if your favorite team is losing, you're going to pay a little more attention to the refs, and the refs maybe make a bad call or a 50-50 call. You're going to, of course, be up in arms. So the fans, they're always going to be biased. I'm biased. You're biased. It's always going to
Right.
happen.
Especially like in other leagues when it involves like a player like Joey Logano and Danny Hamlin who have a reputation.
Yeah,
If there's a controversial call on them
of
against your
course.
team, you're obviously going to pay a lot more attention to that as if it's just somebody else.
Yeah. NASCAR as a body, as a whole, has not, and it's not just been this year, it's been since their inception, has gone back on the things that they have said before, or they've let some drivers get away with some things when they wouldn't let others get away with the same things. It's there NASCAR's in a tricky spot though because you look at like Formula 1 where they have strict, very very strict racing rules that apply to every single driver and every single team, every single car. There isn't much controversy around Formula 1 calls. NASCAR, they have a rule book. There are rules in place. They are strict about those rules. But when you have popular drivers like Dale Earnhardt back in the day, he was wrecking people left and right. But he, for a lot of those times, he was not called on to change the way he races or anything. That's Dale Earnhardt. He's the intimidator. Now it's a different time in 2024, obviously, but I I'm just coming from the stance of like NASCAR's in a difficult spot because you have these popular drivers that if you start to officiate more, then it has to be done towards everybody, which I think it should be. I think there should be a clear cut, yes, you can do this, but no, you can't do this. And whatever happens, happens. But as long as there's clear rules, I don't like that. They're like fluid about things, but that's just NASCAR is in a tough spot because Formula One, they have their popular drivers, but they're global, so they have to be more strict about their rules. Whereas NASCAR, like NASCAR's trying to get back to what it used to be back in like the 90s, but ever since it's really been struggling as a sport, as a company. It's getting better every year, like we touched on last year, but you know, me as a fan, yes, I wish there was a clear cut yes and no, but I understand that NASCAR is also in a difficult position.
Right. So going off of that, I think it's interesting what you said, like Dale Earnhardt used to. So obviously, and the era plays a part.
Mhm.
We're not in an era anymore where you can just go out and just wreck whoever you want.
Nope.
So the question is, should have Austin Dillon got a penalty for wrecking Logano and Hamlin? And not just if it was Logano and Hamlin, if it was two other drivers, say it was the most popular drivers, Chase Elliott,
Yeah.
Ross
Yeah.
Chastain.
He Austin Dillon should have been penalized. They should have they I'm sure they have something in the rule book to figure out who would have won then, which I looking at the replay, I don't remember if it would have been Denny or not since he got spun out and crossed the line skidding against the wall, but he should have been penalized. He should have got the win taken away from him and, all that stuff. Yeah, he should have. But I don't foresee that happening.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it didn't happen. Uh, but I think like does like the bumping and stuff like it's hard though, right? Like you said, because in NASCAR you're gonna have that bumping and shoving. So at times it's really hard to tell if something was intentional or not. Like if it was premeditated. That's the way I like to look at it.
Yeah,
Was the move premeditated?
that's what NASCAR was born on. Bump and
In
run.
in this case with Austin Dillon, it's hard for me with Logano because looking at the replay, it looked like he slowed down a lot, like going in. Well, obviously he was going into the turn. Uh, so for me, that one's kind of hard to tell. But if you say you accidentally spun Logano out, right? Okay, like oops. But then to go and wreck Hamlin right after, that to me looks like it was premeditated. Like Austin Dillon was like, me guessing his thinking here. He was like, "Oh, I'm in second now. It's the last lap. It's coming down to the wire. I need a win. I need to do whatever I have to do to get the win to secure my spot."
Yeah, and he hasn't won since like 2021 or whatever, so it's been a long time. He wasn't really going to be in the playoffs unless he won pretty much. So, yeah, you have to look at the driver being put yourself in the driver's shoes as well. Like you're always taught do whatever you need to do to win. So, that in the moment, that's what happened. Is it right? Probably not, but he won. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do to win. Did when and you brought it up to me earlier when Logano took out Kenseth or whatever. Did anything happen with that? Well, not really. I mean, Kenseth got him back like the next week or 2 weeks later, of course, but there wasn't a massive penalty. Drivers weren't suspended or anything like that. The win wasn't taken away, whatever. Like,
Yeah, and also what I did mention with that is that Logano, when he did that in 2015, already had a win.
mhm.
So he was already secured in his spot. So the thinking was like it didn't make really much sense at all for him to go out and wreck
Yeah,
Kenseth because Kenseth was fighting
yeah,
for a playoff spot.
yeah.
In this case, I think it's different because Austin Dillon needed that win to secure a playoff spot.
Mhm.
So you definitely have to look at it like that. Uh, so like I understand the drivers thinking, I understand the fans like jumping on Logano and Hamlin because of their reputation. Like I get it. I'm not saying it's not warranted. But in terms of like the rules and the officiating, there has to be this clear cut line. Because now, okay, this driver just wrecked two drivers to get the win to secure his spot. Uh so now the expectation is going to be, especially going into the playoffs, okay, if I'm on the last lap and I need to get the win to advance to the next round, and I end up spinning someone out. If they penalize that guy, this is going to be brought up immediately,
Yeah, and
and that's where like really the controversy
yeah,
comes in.
100%. But the other thing too, drivers wreck drivers every single week. Maybe not for the win, but in the middle of a race, drivers wreck drivers every single week. So, how do you penalize them? Should they even be penalized? So, what is the difference between wrecking somebody in the middle of the race than wrecking somebody on the last lap? Like, it's it's just hard, and I'm glad I'm not in NASCAR's shoes to try and figure out what's the right call because I honestly don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like, there's obviously a lot of factors that go in.
Mhm.
So there's our position on that. NASCAR controversy and all. Let us know what you guys think. Should there be clear cut rules in any situation for any drivers, or do you have to look at the situation and penalize accordingly?
Yeah.
Let us know down below. But now we're going to get into probably the biggest event going on in the world.
Well, it's over now.
It's over now, but it was going
But
on.
it was going
Uh,
on.
the Summer Olympics. And Shay is going to give you the recap right now.
Yeah, I was, able to watch a good chunk of the Olympics thanks to Peacock and the Gold Zone on Peacock, which was amazing. Just phenomenal. I've always loved the Olympics ever since being a little kid, and I really hope I'm able to go to the 2028 Olympics in LA. But before we get there, it was another dominant showing for the US, of course. We did tie China for the amount of gold medals, 40 each. But we got 126 overall medals, where China came in second, had 91. So we obliterated. We did fantastic. Everyone came out. We're not going to run through every single thing. Obviously, it's a 2 week sporting event, basically. But the big
If we did that, it would take like
Wait,
8
yeah,
hours.
way too long. But the big notables, of course, men's basketball team USA, LeBron, Steph, KD, probably their last time ever doing something like this. They got it done. They all, it was a rough semifinal against Serbia and Jokic, but they got it done and they beat Paris. And this was the first time in Olympic history that the finals for men's and women's basketball were the same teams on both sides. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, USA basketball got it done. Men's basketball got it done. They beat France, the home nation, and was also another very good game. But Steph Curry was just on fire from three. And somewhere on Facebook, when I was going through my feed, the French announcers popped up. It was like, listen to the French announcers when Steph Curry's going crazy against the French team, and you could just hear like the disdain in their voice, and oh my god, it was awesome. But congrats to them. The women's team, they narrowly beat France in the gold medal match, 68-67. That
Oh, wow.
we were losing pretty much the whole game until right up till the very end. So fantastic game there. So the men's team won their fifth straight gold medal, and the women's team just won their eighth straight gold medal and their 60th straight Olympic game. So
Wow.
we're tearing it up in basketball. Um, Other notables, Leon Marchand, the French swimmer, he came out and stole the show as far as swimming goes. He got the most medals for swimming as a whole this Olympics. So congrats to him. Katie Ledecky broke like just keeps breaking her 1,500-meter record like every single year, basically, and she's just literally the goat. So she's now the most decorated female U.S. swimmer of all time. Of course, only behind Michael Phelps, who no one will ever probably catch him with 29 medals.
Yeah.
Um, Simone Biles, she got her eighth Olympic medal total. She has hinted at maybe she'll come back for LA because she's actually 28 years old, which I did not know that. Um, but that would be awesome if she did. The US women's gymnastic team, though, got gold in the team all around. Simone got gold in the vault because she has the hardest vault anyone's ever done. So her difficulty alone pretty much guaranteed her a gold medal. She got gold on the floor exercise too. So, or the silver, I mean, silver on the gold or on the floor. The U.S. Women's soccer team won gold, beating Germany, I believe. So we're back to we're back in the gold women's soccer for since 2012. So yeah, it was a great Olympics. That those are just the like highlights, but of course there's plenty more stories. So I thought it was fantastic. Next up is LA. Tom Cruise was part of the closing ceremony in Paris and made the Hollywood sign in Hollywood, the Olympic rings. So that was really cool to see.
Very
Um,
nice.
so I know you weren't able to watch as much of the Olympics, but watching new sports, because most of these sports are either brand new to like URI or the American audience, or sports we don't often get to see because they're not televised or or whatever. So
Right.
how do you like seeing whenever you are able to see it or watch it? How do you like watching these new sports or different sports that you don't normally get to see, and does it give you a a sense of pride for your country for just dominating in the medal count?
Oh yeah, I think watching new sports is great because, like you said, there's a lot of sports that either we don't get to see or there's sports that just aren't you know as popular in the United States, North America, as they are in Europe. Um, like personally, for me, I've been wanting to get a lot more into soccer, just because soccer is the world's most popular sport.
Hmm.
But obviously, in the United States, it's not as popular
Yeah.
as as most other places. Uh, Now, like you said, I didn't watch a lot of the Olympics, so I only watched like a few sports. But man, all I gotta say is watching the Olympics and just the way the world is now and how it's been recently, like, you know, you see a lot of the bad stuff going on in the world, like on the news and all that. Just watching like all these countries come together, competing, just friendly competition, and you'll see them like, talk to each other and like,
Hmm.
I'm sure a lot of the Olympians make like new friends
Yeah.
and all that from different countries. It's very very nice to see that, and I think it's really the whole goal of the Olympics is to just bring the world together.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think that's amazing, and especially, like I said, with all the bad stuff that goes on,
Yeah, we needed it.
uh, it's really nice to see that. Um, I don't know exactly how many countries there are, but I know, like, there's dozens and dozens of countries.
Well, there's almost like 200, I believe. So,
Yeah, so just it's very phenomenal, very nice to see that. So, doesn't just give me, like, pride for my country, just, like, you know, basically hope for the world.
yeah, I think the Olympics came at a really, really good time, and overall, it was very well received. And Paris, so some of the places were absolutely gorgeous, like the volleyball courts or the beach volleyball court right in front of the Eiffel Tower. Oh my god,
I did see
just
that. Can you imagine
beautiful.
watching that or, like, playing the game
Yeah,
with that in the
just
background?
just beautiful. They came out and said that for the Olympics, a controversy around the Olympics, Summer Olympics, really all the time is that um, the buildings built for the Olympics end up not being used once the Olympics are over, like what happened in Brazil with Rio, pretty much, and in Beijing in 2008, their soccer stadiums aren't being used anymore. So with France, 95% of the um, either stadiums or seating or whatever that were built for this were either already actually built, already just there in France, or they're just temporary constructions like the beach volleyball court. So that was awesome. There's like the only brand new thing built was the swimming center, basically where they did the swimming, and that'll get used.
Yeah,
So
very nice. That's really good to hear.
yeah, so I loved it. Of course, I have a lot of pride for our country, the U.S. I want to win every single gold medal if we can. So
USA.
yeah,
USA.
this is we have led in the medal count every single Summer Olympics now since 1992.
Very impressive.
Yeah, so or I'm sorry, 1982. It was in Barcelona, Spain, 1982. So we're just dominating. That's what we do. But yes, I agree. It gives you pride for the world as a whole because everyone comes together. Happens every 2 years because of the Winter Olympics too, obviously. But I think we needed it. It was really good timing for it this year. So I loved it. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, for sure. I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I'm really glad you enjoyed it. And I hope 2028 you're in LA. Maybe both of us are in
Yeah,
LA.
I that's a dream right there. I can't wait.
We're gonna start saving right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right now. uh, but let us know if you guys watch the Olympics. Let us know like if you're listening to this podcast from another country.
Yeah.
You know,
What was your
did you
favorite
watch the
sport?
Olympics?
What's your favorite new sport?
Exactly, exactly. But don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a little break, and after we come back, we're gonna recap the entire NFL offseason, including all the signings, trades, draft, controversies, uh, our quarterbacks getting paid too much, our running backs getting paid too much, our wideouts getting paid too much. Is everybody just making way too much money? So stick around for that, and we'll see y'all very soon.
Welcome back, everyone, from that short break. A little bathroom break, refreshments, let the dog out.
Playing with the dog.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, all right, that was the first half of the episode. So now we're on to the second half, the NFL. That is our big talking point this week. As we get ready for the season, preseason is underway. Not really going to cover preseason because it's preseason. So
Preseason does not matter.
as it matters to the players and the coaches, but to the fans, not really. We're not. It just yeah. So we're gonna recap the off season because it has been a tumultuous off season. See another big word. There
Okay, I
we
see you. Getting that vocabulary reps in.
that is right. So we're going to start with the NFL draft. We're not going to go through all 7 rounds and all 250 some picks.
We
That's
could.
we could, but we are not going to do that. So we're going to go through the most notable players from the first round of the NFL draft that took place in April in Detroit, which was like 250,000
Rockin'.
people. Yeah,
Rockin'.
absolutely insane.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, we got 10 players here to go over with the draft. Mostly very notable picks, like you said, but also picks that our teams made.
Because we care about our teams.
Yeah. So first, we're gonna start off with pretty much the consensus overall pick, first overall pick. Caleb Williams from USC goes first overall to the Chicago Bears after the Chicago Bears used their do-over. The first overall pick they got from the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
Yeah. So how do we feel about this pick, Shay?
I was shocked that they got Caleb Williams. Let me tell you, I was not expecting. No, of course, it's been like the last.
I was hoping McCarthy
Yeah, no.
first overall. What is this?
The last pretty much 2 years, it's been known he's gonna be number one. So not shocked at all. He might be going into the best setup that a rookie quarterback has ever had. The Bear, as we'll get into later with the Bears, with the offseason acquisitions they did. They did, sorry. But yeah, not surprised at all, obviously. So
Yeah. So moving on, second overall to the Washington Commanders goes quarterback Jaden Daniels from LSU.
yeah, also not a big surprise. He was really since the start of the year projected to go number 2 to Caleb. So the Commanders got a new rookie quarterback that they'll be starting right away. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a RG3 Robert Griffin III situation because that would be terrible. Love RG3. But yeah, we'll see what happens. A lot of upside.
Moving on, New England Patriots, people. They are officially out of the Belichick era
Yep.
as they've drafted, hopefully, their future star quarterback in Drake May from North Carolina.
Yeah, he goes third overall. Like you just alluded to, Belichick's gone. Gerard Mayo, the new head coach, former New England player. Um, New regime and all that. So Drake May is not going to be starting. Teddy Bridgewater is already confirmed going to be the starter, which is good. Good veteran quarterback that's been around the league for a long time. Going to get out there. It gives time for Drake May to learn a lot. He was probably the most, according to Bill Belichick from the Pat McAfee show, because he was on the draft spectacular that they did. He was probably the quarterback that needed the most work as far as like fundamentals and footwork goes and stuff. So I think this is perfect situation for Drake May.
So you don't think the Patriots, knowing that Drake May is not going to be the starter, you don't think they should be panicking at all?
No, the expectations are very low.
Pretty low. Yeah,
Like there's no
I agree.
the ever since a couple years ago, there's because of Mac Jones era and everything, that was all right. We're
Yeah,
rebuilding right now. So
yeah. Time to pull the plug.
yeah.
But next up is a player that I do feel like the Patriots should have selected instead of Drake May. The top whiteout in the draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, goes fourth overall to the Arizona Cardinals. But you did mention to me he still hasn't signed his NFLPA contract.
Yeah, which means you cannot official buy his official NFL jersey still. So just a little interesting tidbit.
Well, they made a mistake drafting
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
I can't even get his jersey.
No, he's a number one wide receiver right away, like literally right away. So uh, he's going to have an incredible career, barring any injuries. So it's a no brainer. Kyler Murray's going to be very happy right now.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Now this pick next, eighth
This
overall,
shocked the
is
world.
probably the most shocking pick of the draft. After signing Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings to a massive 4-year, $180 million deal,
Hmm.
the Falcons decide to select a quarterback
Yep.
in the first round.
Yep.
Eighth overall, Michael Penix Jr. from Washington.
Yeah, it was trust me, it was a shock. The
Now,
whole NFL world blew up.
yeah. Now, as soon as that pick was announced, the air you could see the air just went out
Yeah.
of the building.
Yeah.
Everybody took a like,
Yeah.
and the announcers said like, "No way."
Yeah.
And Kirk Cousins himself came out and said he didn't even know that Michael Penix Jr. was going to be selected until after the draft.
Yeah. Now obviously Cousins is the starter, of course. Maybe it'll be like a Jordan Love situation where Penix is just going to sit for 3 years and learn under Kirk Cousins and then take over after 3 years or whatever. You have a great backup quarterback if Cousins get hurt, which hopefully he does not, but uh, I don't
Yeah,
know. It's still not the pick that I would have done.
no, it would have been an okay pick, might even been a good pick if you didn't just sign Kirk Cousins.
Not even just sign him to a massive contract too.
So, yeah, very shocked. I honestly didn't have any words for that. Uh, but we'll see if it works out. I believe when the Commanders drafted RG3, they also drafted Kirk Cousins in the same draft.
Yeah,
I
as the
believe in
back,
the fourth round.
and he was the backup. Yep.
So that worked out. We'll see if this one does. Maybe history repeats itself a little bit. Uh, but the other quarterback from Michigan, who were national champions this past year, JJ McCarthy goes 10th overall to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep. As of right now, he is not starting either for the Vikings, which I think is good. But coming out of Vikings camp, all the word is how great he's been progressing, how good he is as a leader, how good he is off the field. So I think JJ is gonna have a really good career with Minnesota. Again, barring any injuries or anything, but yeah, he's gonna be great.
Now, next up, my Bengals. We obviously need help on our O line.
Mhm.
So we make a pick that will hopefully do just that. We select Amaris Mims, offensive tackle from Georgia, 18th overall. Like I said, really great pick. It fills a need that we've been needing for a few years. Uh, please protect Joe Burrow.
Yeah, he'll be starting right away. So it's a rookie up there in the O line, so it might be rough the first couple games, but I think he'll be just fine after that.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's gonna stay healthy. Just calling it right
We'll
now.
get into the
We'll get into
Bengals
that.
later.
Yeah, there's some stuff to discuss with the Bengals. Next up, your Philadelphia Eagles draft Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback from Toledo, 22nd overall.
Yep, we needed secondary help. That was one of our worst positions for defense last year. So I'm glad he's the number one rated corner in the draft. So I'm very happy about it. We also got uh, Cooper DeJean. Now, I think with him and Mitchell, and then we still have Big Play Slay, Darius Slay, and then we just brought in back CJ Gardner Johnson from the Lions after we traded him to the Lions. Now we just brought him back. So I think our secondary is going to be a lot better. I'm very happy about this pick.
Very nice. And I know the Eagles definitely have some expectations this season.
Yeah, even though there's a little controversy going on that somehow Hurts and Sirianni are not on the same page and there's some tension, but I'm not going to read into that.
All right. So there you go. Next up, my Jacksonville Jaguars, because I can root for two teams.
Uh-huh.
We draft another wideout, Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU, 23rd overall. Definitely fills a big need. We lost Calvin Ridley in the offseason. So Trevor Lawrence just signed a massive contract. We will get into that later. But he definitely needs offensive weapons to help him out with that. So great pick by the Jaguars, and we'll see how it works out for them. And lastly, wide receiver Xavier Worthy from Texas goes 28th overall after a pick swap from Bills to the Kansas City Chiefs. Uh, Hopefully that works out for the Bills because remember the last time the Chiefs and the Bills swapped first round
That
picks.
that's why this was notable and we brought this up because the Bills gave them another weapon for Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be probably their second or third wide receiver who also set the fastest ever 40-yard dash time at the NFL Combine. So the Bills essentially just gave the Chiefs the fastest player that there has ever been in the National
Yeah.
Football League. So good job, Buffalo. Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, and who did they get last time they swapped first round picks with the Chiefs?
I know who.
I don't know. Some guy named Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, that's
I mean,
right.
he's a bum.
I mean, the Bills do have Josh Allen, so that's
It worked
fine.
exactly. It worked out.
But
It's just
Mahomes
kind
still
of
has
funny.
3 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, Jake. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Jake.
I really am at this point. So yeah, I mean it's kind of funny. So we'll see how it works out. But there's that little draft recap for y'all. Moving on to trades because you can't have an off season without some big trades.
Nope.
And starting off with the biggest trade.
Sorry, Jake.
It never ends. I'm sorry. The Houston Texans continue to look really scary on the offense as they acquire wide receiver Stephon Diggs from the Buffalo Bills, aforementioned, along with the 2024 sixth round pick and a 2025 fifth round pick. in exchange for a 2025 second round pick.
Yeah, this leaves a lot of questions for Buffalo's offense. They don't really have notable wide receivers, except who we'll get into in a moment, Marquez Valdez Scantling. And even then, like he was only number 3 receiver on the Chiefs. So there's a lot of questions right now up in Buffalo.
Sorry, Jake. Again. Next up on the trade market, the New York Jets, who also look pretty scary this year, get defensive end Hassan Reddick from the Eagles for a 2026 third round pick that could become a second rounder. And do you know what the condition is?
I believe it's a combination of playing time for Reddick and wins for the team.
Okay. But there's some drama surrounding Hassan Reddick. He is holding out on the Jets because he wants a new deal, and as of yesterday, requested a trade. So they had
Yeah.
just traded for him, hold out, and now he's requested a trade.
Yeah, it's getting ugly up there in New Jersey for the Jets.
But as you said to me, I think today, uh, he can hold out, but he still has one more year left. So
Yeah, he's kind of in a similar situation to Brandon Ayuk, which we'll get to later. But he's in the last year of his deal that he was in with the Eagles, and he wants a new deal though, because all the other top edge rushers are making a lot more money than him, and he is one of the top edge rushers in the league as well. So he deserves it. He should be making market value, but the Jets just won't give in. And then the Jets GM came out today saying, "We're not going to trade him. We expect him to be here with the team and play for us this season." So I don't know what's going to happen.
yeah, I think at the end of the day, because he has the 1 year left, I don't think he really has a choice
No, they
but
say
to
they're not going to
report.
trade him. No.
So, but moving on from that, the Chicago Bears get wide receiver Keenan Allen from the Chargers for a 2024 fourth round pick. The Cleveland Browns acquire wide receiver Jerry Judy from the Broncos for a fifth and sixth round pick. So there's two more wide receivers moving. The Bears continue to really bolster their offense with the arrival of Caleb Williams. We'll discuss more of that later. Quarterbacks that moved. The Pittsburgh Steelers acquire quarterback Justin Fields from the Bears, aforementioned, for a conditional sixth round pick. That could be a really good value pick,
Hmm.
especially if Fields works out. The Philadelphia Eagles acquire quarterback Kenny Pickett from the Steelers for a fourth round pick. This one was kind of interesting because after the Steelers signed Russell Wilson to the 1 year deal, which could be a huge steal, and acquire Justin Fields. Kenny Pickett did request a trade because he said he didn't want to compete for the starting job in such a crowded atmosphere. Uh, but I find it interesting because obviously in Philadelphia, he's going to be playing behind Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so he kind of ate his words there, I guess. He's a Jersey kid. The Eagles were his favorite team growing up, so maybe that had something to do with it. But it's kind of interesting situation for sure.
Yeah, so we'll see how that works out. Um, but good backup option, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
for
yeah,
the Eagles for
absolutely.
sure. Uh, Another good backup option, I think a good pickup. The Jacksonville Jaguars acquire quarterback Mac Jones from the Patriots for a sixth rounder. Obviously, with Mac Jones, it has not worked out at the NFL level so far. But who knows? Like Trevor Lawrence goes down with injury, Mac Jones, maybe he'll step up
Yeah,
as a
never know.
backup. You never know. And then a big trade here also, cornerback L'Jarius Sneed from the Kansas City Chiefs is traded to the Titans as the Titans really bolster their offense as well for a 2025 third round pick, and they swapped 2024 seventh round picks. And then right after he arrived in Tennessee, gets a 4 year, $76.4 million extension.
Big money for a
So
corner. Big money.
yeah, so definitely a lot of expectations, I would think, for Snead. The Tennessee Titans as a whole, again, Calvin Ridley now, L'Jarius Sneed. I think they have I forgot who their running back is now, but
It's not Derrick Henry. I know
not
that.
Derrick Henry. I was gonna say Singletary, but he's with the Giants. But yeah, the Titans they do look a lot better uh from the prior years. So the AFC South is I think gonna be a little bit stronger of a division. So the
Yeah.
Jaguars might have some trouble. Uh, but finally, the Bengals traded their running back Joe Mixon to the Texans for a seventh round pick. Uh, sad to see him go, but it was a move they had to make, obviously, in order to save some money. So that's it for all the major trades. And now we're gonna get to the big bucks. Quarterback signings, and there's some things to discuss here. So first off, which I think is a really good contract. The Bucks and Baker Mayfield, after coming in last year on a 1-year, $4 million deal and having kind of a resurgence of his career, he assigns a 3-year deal worth $100 million.
Yeah, the smart, perfect move from both sides. No brainer. No brainer.
Yeah, and with that, which we'll get to later, but Mike Evans is also staying with the Bucks, so the Bucks could be a team to watch in the NFC South, even though that division sucks.
Yeah.
But next up, as we mentioned, the Falcons and Kirk Cousins agreed to a 4-year, $180 million deal. The Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. Jared Goff staying in Detroit signed a 4-year, $212 million extension.
Well
Uh,
deserved.
yeah, exactly. Well deserved. Goff and the Lions mesh like bread and butter.
Yeah.
So very good. Forget I said that. It's- but it's too late. It's gonna be in the recording.
Yep.
And I'm gonna get this right. The Dolphins decide that Tua Tunga Viloa.
Nope.
Nope, didn't get it right.
Nope.
Shay,
And we practiced and everything.
we practiced this for a long time. Shay, go ahead and say it.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay, now I'm gonna say it with you.
Tua
Tua Tunga
Tagovailoa.
Vailoa.
Mm-hmm.
Tunga Viola.
Nope.
Nope.
Just move on. He signed a 4-year, $212.4 million deal to stay in Miami. Is this warranted, Jarris?
It's tough for me because I like Tua. I just think at this point, them and the Dolphins, this is just my opinion. I know the stats from last year say otherwise.
What's your opinion?
But
So
I
it's
think
wrong.
at this point, they're a little overrated. You got the Chiefs, you got the Bills, you got the Jets, you got the Dolphins, all in the same division. The Dolphins,
Same conference.
yeah, the Dolphins have not been a regular season slouch at all. They've made the playoffs the last few years. Uh, they just haven't really been able to do anything in said playoffs. Uh, Tua had a good year after coming off of the year before where he got injured. They did have the number one passing offense in the league. Uh, but we'll see. I need to see something.
They need
You know,
to get home playoff games because did you know they're 0-10 in their last 10 games that are played below 40 degrees?
really,
Yeah. So they need just home playoff games, basically.
yeah, yeah. Um, Also, I like it was either them. I think it was them. Like they had a good record last year, but I think most of their wins right came from teams below 500.
Hmm.
So that's also kind of why I say they're a little overrated. So like we'll see. Like I'm not saying I hate the Dolphins, right? Like it would be nice to see the Dolphins do well. I just think at this point, like we need to see like a contender, a Super Bowl contender from them, especially with Tua signing this deal
Yeah,
because
right.
now they've decided he's the guy.
Correct. Very true.
Uh, but we'll get to some of their other weapons on offense later. But they do have like a really good roster on paper. That's for sure. But teams decided that okay, so now we have the highest paid quarterback in the league. Well, we want to one up that. And it went on and on. I believe these next 3 contracts, including Tua's, were signed in the same week.
Yep.
So the Jacksonville Jaguars extend quarterback Trevor Lawrence to a 5-year, $275 million deal.
Now, is this warranted?
Um,
Pretty similar situation.
Again, it's tough because I really like Trevor Lawrence.
If anything,
I think Lawrence has the talent,
oh
like
yeah,
for sure.
100%.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's undeniable. Uh, have the Jaguars done enough to put a team around him? I'd say yes. I just think this year he needs to show that next step. He's been good. He's been good. The Jaguars made the playoffs 2 seasons ago. They did miss the playoffs this year, in similar fashion because the last 2 years it was both a deciding game with the Titans. So that's kind of funny. And the Titans look a lot better this upcoming season. Uh, so yeah, Lawrence just needs to take that next step. I don't hate the deal at all. But if he has a bad year, that deal's off the bat is not going to look very good.
Yeah, I personally, I don't think it's. I think it's too much money. I don't think he earned all that money. Um,
And we're going to discuss that.
yeah, I just I know he has the potential, obviously, to be great, but he just hasn't shown it, in my opinion. He has flashes, but not consistency.
Now, would I put Tua as a quarterback above Lawrence? Yes, 100%. Maybe I'm just biased to my team. uh, so, moving on before I have angry Dolphins fans in the comments. Uh, Then here come the Green Bay Packers saying, well, we want to make our quarterback the highest paid quarterback in the league, signing quarterback Jordan Love to a 4-year, $220 million deal.
Now, is this warranted? Because he only played one full season, which was last year, didn't play for 3 years prior, and he was bad the first half of the year last year, but was great the second half of the year last year. Won a playoff game against the Cowboys. Haha. So,
Now you were telling me like this is just how the game is now. When a quarterback prospect shows they can do something,
mhm,
and I think Jordan Love showed in the playoffs he can do
for
something,
sure.
right? He beat like arguably the best team in the NFC. Uh, you got to pay him. You got to lock him up. It's obviously you said it's a huge gamble.
Yep.
But if it ends up working out, it looks like a very genius move.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we'll get into that. So this raises the question first, though. Dak Prescott is on the final year of his deal, and him and the Cowboys haven't been able to agree on a new deal yet. Will he go to free agency next year and maybe be the first quarterback to earn 60 million per season?
Yeah. If he gets the free agency, absolutely.
Now, yeah, I totally agree with you. Absolutely, he will get that money because if Jordan Love is worth that money, uh, I'd say Prescott is a top 5, maybe right outside the top 5, but he's a good quarterback. So I could definitely see him earning 60 million annually.
Yeah.
Uh, so before we get to this question here, I kind of want to run through 3 contracts that show like the history of the salaries inflating. So we're gonna start off with Patrick Mahomes because he is the best quarterback in the league, and I don't think it's even close.
No.
Patrick Mahomes back in 2020, offseason of 2020, signed a 10-year, $450 million contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, that equates to 45 million a year. but also for 10 years, so very long term.
Yeah.
So he'll probably be there for most, if not all, of his career. He signed this contract after he went to the AFC Championship in 2018 against the Patriots, won the Super Bowl in 2019 against the 49ers, and had another trip to the Super Bowl the very next year in 2020. So there's that. Josh Allen, who is definitely a top 5 quarterback in the league, uh, signed a 6-year, $258 million contract with the Buffalo Bills in the offseason of 2021. This was after he had a trip to the AFC Championship in 2020 where he lost to Mahomes and the Chiefs. Uh, and then going back a little bit, Russell Wilson, when he was in Seattle, signed a 4-year, $140 million contract as a quarterback. Uh, this made him, at the time, the highest paid player in the NFL, in NFL history. Um, but this was also after 2013 and 2014 Super Bowl appearances and winning the Super Bowl in 2013, and after that having 4 consecutive playoff appearances. And others include Jalen Hurts after the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow signed his massive contract after a Super Bowl and AFC Championship appearance. Um, and then you had Lamar Jackson, who one upped Hurts on his contract, and Justin Herbert is also locked into a pretty big contract. Uh, Now, this was at the time of signing, so since then, the Ravens have gone to the AFC Championship. The Chargers have not. So this poses the question: why am I saying all this? Right? Um,
Yeah, why are you saying all
yeah.
this?
Why am I saying all this? Quarterbacks now, it seems like they're getting paid the big bucks, but they haven't done anything in the playoffs. Now, as we see, like that I mentioned with Mahomes, Allen, and Wilson, they got their big money contracts, but they proved it. They went far in the playoffs or they won the Super Bowl. So so what's going on here? Like, what are your thoughts? And will the quarterback salaries ever reach a plateau? Like, how far does this go?
Well, you have the biggest league in the country, arguably in the world, by far. No one, especially in the US, no other league is close to the amount of money the NFL makes. The salary cap goes up considerably every single year, without question. So the money's only going to get more and more. Will it plateau? No, I don't think it'll ever plateau. I think it might slow down. Like, we're not going to see 4 record-breaking deals every offseason, but I think we could see one, maybe skip a year, have another 1 or 2, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's ever going to plateau because the NFL's king, football's king. It's always going to make the money, and the cap's going to go up.
Right, and part of the reason of the salaries is because of the salary cap. As the league makes more money, the cap goes up, so now you can pay players more money.
Correct. Now the QBs, especially recently over the last off season, basically, um, the NFL and players as a whole are better than they've ever been in any time in history. The players back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s could not play today's game
Right.
at all. So then you put the quarterback position on top of that, which is the most important position in all of sports, the most difficult position in all of sports. So I'm assuming, trying to step my feet into GM's shoes. When you have a quarterback that shows flashes of greatness, of yeah, this guy can help lead this team to a Super Bowl, you got to lock him up because you don't want him going to another team. And these QBs, they're not going to sign a deal that's 5 years, $80 million for the whole 5-year deal. Are you kidding me? That's so far, especially now, that's so far below market value. So Yeah, these deals are only gonna get bigger and bigger, and I think it might s like I said, I think it might slow down, but I don't think it's ever gonna plateau. I don't think this is ever gonna change. If anything, it could get worse. Now, there have been talks of not inside the NFL, but people outside of the NFL, like in the media, saying, "Well, what if we made the quarterback position its own like cap and took it away from the salary cap?"
Right.
That's a whole different conversation and it has its own, you know, pros and cons, of course, but for the foreseeable future, it's not going to plateau. The numbers are only going to get bigger. Caleb Williams, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a good year this year if he signs a big extension to kick in, uh, next year, basically. So, yeah, it's not so gonna plateau or anything.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. And like we said, since Dak Prescott's a free agent, I would say he's definitely a better quarterback or has shown a lot more than Jordan Love, than Trevor Lawrence, and maybe even Tua. So that 60 million like is probably guaranteed.
Mhm.
And maybe not even out of the realm of possibility he gets more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe he decides, "Hey, uh I know that I'm going to reset the market, so I can basically ask for however much I want."
Hey, we thought Shohei Ohtani was gonna be less than 500 million after his injury, right? He went
No,
way over to
way over.
750. So, and that's baseball, right? That's longer contracts, longer years in the game and everything, right? So, and that's no salary cap. Now you have this with the salary cap, most popular sport. Like it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up.
Now, would you agree with these contracts? Because, like I said, would you agree with these contracts even though they haven't went to like a
No, I
championship
don't.
game or a Super Bowl?
I don't. The one I do not agree with is Trevor Lawrence. I now you can't, as we've said before, you can't count his first year with Urban Meyer, of course, but after that, he shows flashes, but he's not consistent. I would rather have Tua, who, yeah, he had an injury riddled season 2 years ago, but last season he was so much better and he stayed healthy the entire year. Jordan Love, even, he learned under one of the greatest of all time in Aaron Rodgers for 3 years before he finally got into the game. And yeah, it was rough the first few weeks, but the second half of the year, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league.
And that playoff game, like
Yeah. So I,
almost near perfect.
I was, if it was my money, I would have liked to maybe wait another year, at least on Jordan Love. But I mean, he was on his 5th year option. He needed a new deal right away. Same with Trevor Lawrence, same with Tua. Like they're all like, no, then we need a new deal. So the only one I agree with them, except I would say Trevor Lawrence. I think the year is fine. Even the money is fine. Maybe if it was just lower, like if it was 5 year, the 220 that Love is making, so he's making a little less a year than Love. But I think 275 is so much money for a guy that has not been consistent right so far.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. So, let us know down below. Do you guys agree with these deals? Do you think quarterbacks should have to do more, especially in the playoffs, to earn this kind of money? Do you think like quarterbacks should take a discount so the team has more money uh, to maybe spend elsewhere? Let us know what you think. But moving on to the wide receivers. Um, like we said, the Bucks and Mike Evans agreed on a 2-year, $52 million extension, which is really, really good for both sides. The Jets signed wide receiver Mike Williams from the Chargers for 1 year, $15 million. The Bills acquire former Chiefs wide receiver Marquez Valdez Scantling for 1 year, $4.5 million, which could be really good contract. Calvin Ridley signs with the Titans for 4 years, $92 million. The aforementioned Dolphins agreed to an extension with Jalen Waddle for 3 years, $84.75 million. The Texans and Nico Collins agreed to a 3-year extension worth $72.5 million. The Colts and Michael Pittman agreed to a 3-year, $70 million extension. And your Philadelphia Eagles signed A.J. Brown to a 3-year, $96 million extension and Devontae Smith to a 3-year, $75 million extension that kicks in after his 5th-year option. So you feel good about that?
100%. And what's smart about the Eagles, they did this before Justin Jefferson, who we're gonna get to in a second, signed his record-breaking deal, and before Amon-Ra St. Brown signed. So they were early. So they didn't have, like we'll get to with the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb. Now CeeDee Lamb wants market value. We did it before market value was reset. So we were, oh, thank God we were early because they're, oh, that's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, very smart. And I think that was part of the issue too, is they waited too long, like, to sign the contract. So with the quarterbacks, if the Jaguars had done it first, maybe they wouldn't be paying as much,
Mhm.
right? Same with the wide receivers because the Detroit Lions, and this is well
Yeah,
deserved.
well
Uh,
deserved.
the Detroit Lions agreed to an extension with Amon-Ra St. Brown for 4 years, $120 million. One of the best wide receivers in the game, very young
Yep.
still. The Lions are not going anywhere, folks. It might be a new age in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
And then after this, the aforementioned Justin Jefferson and the Vikings signed the largest wide receiver contract in NFL history. 4 years, $140 million extension. That was the same contract that we said Russell Wilson got in 2018 with the Seahawks.
Yeah, as a quarterback.
So,
This well deserved though. Again, well deserved.
yep. So with that record-setting contract, there's some drama going around. First off, the wide receiver from the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, is holding out because he wants a new deal. He says, "Oh, Justin Jefferson's making all that money. I want some money."
Yeah, he's on the last year of his deal, if I remember correctly, making a lot less than well, now a lot less than, Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra. So he wants a new deal, and because the Cowboys waited and waited,
And that's part of the issue was
yep,
waiting.
they waited, and now Justin Jefferson got done. So CeeDee Lamb, their best wide receiver by far, one of their best in franchise history, led was like top 5 in the league in all major wide receiver categories last season. They got to pay him, otherwise you're going to lose that.
They cannot. I don't think they can afford him to walk away.
No, and the Cowboys themselves, like we said earlier, Dak is on the last year of his deal. He needs a new deal. Micah Parsons on the defensive side, one of the best defensive players in all of football. He wants a new deal. So the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, their head coach, he's on the last year of his deal. So to me, I think this is a lame duck year for the Dallas Cowboys, and then it's going to be a full rebuild, and I cannot wait.
Eagles fan there cannot wait for the Cowboys' self destruction, as expected. But Cowboys fans, you guys haven't done really anything during the off season, so do something now.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope
That's the other
hope they
thing.
do something
The
now.
team didn't get better over the offseason because they didn't do anything. Jerry Jones didn't do anything.
And now you got all these players
S-
holding out, these
Yeah,
players not getting new
yeah,
contracts.
yeah.
You should be very worried.
You have all these teams, especially in the division, that are getting better because they made off-season moves, and you're just sitting there like, oh, we'll just run it back next year, same team.
I mean,
Okay.
you're just asking for disappointment at that point.
Yep.
Um, but they did make one move. They brought back running back Ezekiel Elliott makes his
Well,
triumphant
that
return.
fixes all their problems right there.
So yeah, Cowboys. I'd be very worried right now. But with CeeDee Lamb holding out, Bengals are also in some trouble. So I can't really say much. The Bengals drama starts with our top wide receiver and arguably with Justin Jefferson might be the top wide receiver in the league. Jamar Chase holding out as well. I believe 5th day, or he didn't show up to training camp. Well, he was there, but he held out in training camp for the entirety of the camp. Still has not gotten signed. He is a free agent in 2025, so he is signed through this year. Um, but it's just not something you want to see if you're a Bengals fan. Chase holding out. Um,
Yep.
the expectation this year with Burrow will stay healthy. I'm just saying that he
We'll
will
see.
stay healthy.
We'll see.
Jamar Chase and Burrow, obviously one of the best duos in the league. And their secondary, T. Higgins, uh, got the franchise tag because he is not a secondary wide receiver. He would be a number one
Yeah, on
on any
almost
other
any other
team.
team. Yeah.
But they tagged him. It will pay him $21.8 million for the year. Uh, this basically signifies that it's going to be probably his last season with the Bengals. Because once they give this deal to Jamar Chase, which will be pretty much the same as Jefferson, if not more, um, and Chase could definitely ask for more money.
Hmm.
He's not unjustified. Basically prices out T. Higgins out of Cincinnati. So, with that being said, Bengals fans, this might be our best shot at winning the Super Bowl. Might be the best roster on paper.
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't be feeling too good right now. Uh, Once we get all that sorted out, then just hope for the season and hope we don't get to an 0-3 start again.
yeah. Everyone knew this was probably going to be one of the last shots, last dances, if you will, because T. Higgins was got franchise tagged. I am shocked that Chase has not been signed yet. That I was not expecting that at all. So that is a little worrisome, and especially like, of course, you had to pay Burrow. You had to pay Burrow, but like, dude, it's Jamar Chase. You got to pay Jamar Chase too. Why? We're taking the entire year now, the entire offseason to pay the best, if not the second best wide receiver in the entire league.
Yep. Again, this is the issue. Why are we waiting? Like, why
Yeah,
are all these teams
yeah,
waiting to sign deals? You know, just stop waiting. Just sign. Just sign the player. Pay the man. Just
listen,
pay the man. Because
listen,
then you got situations like this.
we're not GMs though. We're not handling millions and
Hey,
millions of dollars.
hey, listen. I do not envy a GM's job.
No, not at all.
I'm sure it's probably one of the most stressful jobs
Yeah,
you can have
yeah,
ever. But Brandon Ayuk, uh, secondary for the 49ers, is also holding out because he wants a new deal.
hmm,
He did have a great year, obviously, um, but doesn't really have as much leverage as the others because he is
nope.
signed through this season, and he's not obviously like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson.
No, he's like a CD Lamb type player, and he's in the worst spot out of everybody because his fifth year if they can exercise his fifth year option next year, and then they could franchise tag him for the next 2 years. So like it was a drama filled offseason with just the 49ers alone, not even the rest of the league. But he was talking about trying to go to Washington and how the 49ers don't want to re-sign him and nobody wants him there and he doesn't want to be there and all this stuff. So he requested a trade and the 49ers shopped around and the Patriots and Steelers are two teams that were interested but fell apart. And so now the consensus is they're working together again to get a deal done. So I don't know what's going to go on over there.
Yeah, so this really begs the question, like, when a player holds out, like, are they being like a crybaby? It's like, well, these players already make so much money, so he's holding out for more money. He's just greedy. Uh, what are your thoughts? Personally, for me, depending on the situation, I think they are justified to, hold out because like with Justin Jefferson basically resetting the market for wide receivers. Chase is like, what am I worth? I want to know what you guys think I'm worth.
Yeah, it's they have every right because it's not only they're not only trying to get like more money, of course, but they're also trying to get the guaranteed money, which, for example, left tackle out of 49ers, Trent Williams, the best in the league. He's if he played this year, he would have no guaranteed money. So if he got hurt, he wouldn't be making any money. So he's holding out for his new deal. So that's the whole issue is guaranteed money and how much money overall. And if you're a great player and you see the market keeps getting reset, well, I want to make market value. And yeah, you have doesn't matter if it's millions of dollars or $10. You have every right to fight for what you think you're worth, every single cent. So
Yeah, I'd have to agree. They're definitely justified. So finally, we're getting to running backs and other signings, and we're gonna run through because we've been going pretty long here. So first off, the Dolphins signed former Bills safety Jordan Poyer for 1 year. Travis Kelsey is now the highest paid tight end in the NFL. Got a 2 year, $34.25 million extension. Don't really need to explain that one.
yeah.
The Jaguars signed their edge Josh Allen, not from the Bills, to a 5 year, $150 million deal, which makes him the third highest paid edge in the league. Very well deserved.
Hmm.
He is a beast.
Yep.
I love Josh Allen from the Jaguars. Sorry, Jake. Um, as we mentioned before, the Steelers signed quarterback Russell Wilson to a 1 year, $1.2 million deal. Uh, that leaves the Broncos paying him $37.8 million this upcoming season, and they have an $85 million dead cap hit for the next 2 seasons.
Sucks to be a Broncos
So
fan.
just a big disaster overall. I'll probably have to make a YouTube video on the Russell Wilson trade because it is pretty fascinating. Uh, Christian McCaffrey becomes the highest paid running back in NFL history with a 2 year, $38 million extension through 2027.
Well deserved.
Very well deserved. Not going to argue with that at all. He is a beast, a Swiss Army knife out there for the 49ers. The Packers, after letting go of, I think, Aaron Judge.
Nope, that's baseball.
No,
Aaron
that's
Jones.
Aaron Jones. Sorry, people. He be. Oh my God. Let me recollect here. The Packers sign running back Josh Jacobs from the Raiders to a 4 year, $48 million deal. Uh, Again, not really going to argue with that. Jacobs is a very good running back. And your Eagles sign running back Saquon Barkley from the Giants for 3 years, $37.75 million.
Hell yeah, come over to the division rival, baby.
Yeah. Now, are you like sad that DeAndre Swift didn't stick around, or are you happy that you got Saquon
I'm
Barkley?
sad Swift isn't around, yeah, but if Saquon's healthy, which is always the concern with Saquon, if he's healthy, he's he's behind Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the league.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully they use him
No, they will. New offensive coordinator, new defensive
because I
coordinator.
know that was your complaint.
Yeah, we are just
Last year.
I'm very optimistic this year.
Yeah. Um, as we said, DeAndre Swift signed a 3 year, $24 million deal with the Bears. The Ravens signed Titans legend Derrick Henry to a 2 year, $16 million deal.
He looks so cool in the Ravens purple and black and the black visor so you can't see his face. Oh my god, he looks so awesome.
I'll have to look that up. Um, the Washington Commanders signed running back Austin Eckler from the Chargers to a 2 year, $11.43 million deal. Like we said, Cowboys did something. The homecoming of Ezekiel Elliott. Um, so I don't think we'll get into this now, but we might touch on it the next episode because we've been running pretty long. But let us know in the comments, maybe for next episode, How do you feel about the decline of the running back role and their salaries in the NFL? Of course, Christian McCaffrey is probably the exception there. Um, and let us know who you think had the strongest offseason or the weakest, who's a sleeper, maybe to win their division or go on a long playoff run. We will be getting into that next week as we talk about teams' expectations and big storylines around the NFL. But that is going to do it for this episode. Again, this will be a little longer, but we appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to this podcast.
Cheers. Where can they find the podcast?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Because we are now on YouTube.
Finally.
Finally. Just search at the real Just Sayin. It will be the first one that pops up. Um, so yeah, go subscribe to our YouTube where we will be posting our episodes now.
We have
But if you don't have YouTube,
Yeah.
which I don't know who doesn't, um, we do have Spotify. We also have Apple Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio. So go ahead and did I say Amazon?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so if you don't have Spotify, we got plenty of options for you to choose from. So go follow us on that. Make sure you follow our socials. Make sure you follow our Facebook page, our Instagram at Just Saying Podcast with 3 T's. We will be posting some polls there, asking you guys who wins
TikTok.
the divisions. And like Shay said, we have a TikTok. So if you can't listen to these long episodes, especially this one, you can watch some very short clips, 30
Yeah.
seconds to a minute
I don't
of our
have
podcast.
TikTok, so that's not me. That's
Shay hates TikTok.
I don't hate it. I'm old, I guess, so I don't understand.
Well, how old are you?
27. Almost 28.
Oh, yikes.
Anyway, yeah, YouTube's now our main, and you already kind of said it, so I don't think it's a spoiler, but we're gonna do some videos on there too sometimes, right?
Sometimes. If we get to it.
If we get to it.
We'll let you guys know if we post a video. There's no like set
Yeah, no,
upload
no.
schedule or anything. So if you listen to the podcast, we'll mention the podcast and then you'll
Yeah.
know, hey, we got a video.
Exactly. Yeah.
So but if you follow our YouTube, you will also get early access to the podcast. Wednesday morning at 4 a.m. is when I'm posting them. So if you're going to work, you can listen to it then. And then if you're on other platforms, they will post the following Thursday at 4 a.m. So follow our YouTube for early access. And thank you guys so much for listening again. We really appreciate it. And we will see you in the next one.